Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Amara Rodriguez. I am the Platform Partnerships Manager for Creative Cloud at Adobe. I also help manage the Adobe Fund for Design. But most importantly, I'm a really big believer in community advocacy, which is why I've been working with Latinas in Tech for over a decade now. I most recently moved to Denver, Colorado, and I'm excited to be leading the Latinas in Tech chapter here. And Latinas in Tech hosts a variety of events, and today is no different. I'm really excited to be joined by Monica Kondos, who is the Director of Program Management at Nike. We're going to be doing a deep dive on Monica's life, her work, being a fellow Latina in tech, and kind of understanding how she's navigated that journey. So thanks again for joining us. And Monica, I'm so excited to be speaking with you today. Just to go ahead and kick things off, I'd love for you to tell the audience about yourself and how you got where you are today in a nutshell, because we will be talking more about that in depth later on in the conversation.
Absolutely. No, thanks. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity. I feel like it's really great to be able to share my story and hopefully help others and inspire others. So Monica Kondos, I'm located in Portland, Oregon. I am a director, as you mentioned, of program management at Nike. Grew up an Oregonian, so I always had a dream of working for Nike. I grew up in a very small town in Eastern Oregon that didn't have a lot of opportunity as far as growth for my family. And so my parents decided when I was in elementary school that they were going to move us to the big town of Portland, Oregon, and they were going to have more opportunity for my brother and my sister. I'm the youngest of three, and so that's what brought us to Portland. And then from there, I as a child got involved in sports, and I feel like a lot of who I am today is a combination of my parents, their hard work and determination and perseverance, and how they showed us growing up and what the things that they had to go through to make it to where they wanted to be. And then another huge part of my journey was being an athlete. So I played softball since I was 12 years old, and continued to play throughout high school, and then actually had the opportunity to play at a Division I school at Portland State University. In addition to that, education was always very important to my parents. So in addition to that, I also got a full scholarship for academics as well at Portland State University, and graduated with a business and advertising degree there. After college, I didn't have the typical job that I felt like I would have as far as with my degree. I always knew, again, that I had this dream of working for Nike and working for this very innovative and forward-looking company. But my journey didn't start out that way. It started out actually working as an administrative assistant for a banking industry. And through that, I learned that I had to grow my skill set, and I really had to lean into places that put me out of my comfort zone in order to get me to where I needed to be. And after many years, I finally got an interview at Nike, and I finally got the opportunity to be a part of the team, which was, again, a dream come true for me. And it happened to be in the tech space. And it's definitely not a space that I anticipated myself falling into. But once I got into that, I learned that, Nike is a very innovative and technology forward company that is looking to do really great things. And being a part of that was really exciting to me.
That's incredible. Wow. I had no idea that I was talking to a legitimate, sports athlete. That's really cool. And what I loved about what you were mentioning is how you haven't had a traditional path, which I think is the case for a lot of, fellow Latinas in tech. And I'm curious to better understand, what was that moment or series of moments where you kind of knew, I want to break into tech. I want to build a pathway for myself. I want to figure out how I can do this and how far I can go with it.
I always say that I didn't really choose tech. I feel like it chose me. And that being said, like I said, working for Nike is such an innovative and forward-looking company. When I got the job opportunity as a senior program project manager, it was in the tech space. It was, programming retail new store openings in North America. And with that came a lot of challenges because, I didn't speak the language. I didn't know all of the ins and outs of so many elements of infrastructure that I had to learn and different components. And I felt like, how I grew up and things that I faced in sports, like I said, having, grit and having perseverance and always having to push myself and do more than maybe somebody who had the background. I just really pushed myself to learn and immerse myself in that environment to be able to learn and show up the way I needed to show up.
That's great. And I think the interesting thing is that when people think tech, even today, there's a misconception that you're either a software engineer or you're a data analyst, and you need to kind of fit within those molds to work in the tech industry, which as a result can be really discouraging to a lot of folks who feel like that level of kind of technical expertise isn't something that they have. But your journey obviously has dispelled this myth, right? And has exemplified that hard work and consistency will get you to where you want to go. I'm curious to hear your take on, what would you say to other fellow women who are trying to transition into tech, who feel limited by the fact that maybe they don't have the level of expertise that other people in the field do?
Yeah, I love this question. This is something actually I've talked with quite a few people that have reached out to me, looking to get into the tech industry and looking to get into Nike. And I kind of break things down for them. And it's not so much the larger picture, but it's what skill sets do you possess? Do you have, or do you need to grow in order to get into this space? So, I feel like we've had a lot of really encouraging, and I feel like I've helped other females who are looking to get into this space just understand, like, what are the things that you already possess that you can bring to the table, and then again, like, what are some recommendations for things that'll help you get into the space. So I think that, yeah, that's a really great point.
On a similar note, advice I think is so important in paying it, forward and really supporting different people in the community, which you've mentioned just now that you really love to do. I'm curious, what's one piece of career advice that you've received that you can't ever forget?
That's a really great question. I feel like I've received lots of great career advice, but I've had some really great leaders that I've had the pleasure of working with. And I think some of the biggest takeaways for me is get comfortable with the uncomfortable. I feel like, whenever I'm really feeling maybe unsure of myself, I know that I'm growing. So I always look out for those signs when taking on new things or being asked to take on more. I also think trusting your instincts and trusting who you are and what you bring to the table and, what has led you to this moment. So I feel like it's having that confidence and that reassurance in yourself as well is really important. And to your point, I think helping others, right? Like paying it forward. That's one of my most favorite things about my position is helping others, helping my team. When people want to meet with me and dig into, how I got to where I am. I love being able to share that story and give other people advice. And it really is a very fulfilling thing for me.
That's incredible. And I know you've mentioned that you managed a team. And one of the things I loved about what you just said is really paying it forward and making sure your team is succeeding and growing just as much as you are. So I'm curious, what has been some of the best or most memorable projects that you've worked on in your role as Director of Program Management?
As you can imagine, working at Nike, there's lots of exciting things happening all the time. But looking back, beyond, again, advocating and supporting and leading my team, which again is one of my most favorite things. But I got the pleasure of program managing the implementation and rollout for RFID technology in our retail space. So this was really an exciting time because it was new technology for Nike that was really going to allow inventory accuracy for our consumers. And it was really an unlock for, connecting the marketplace. So I feel like that was a really exciting time. It was something new, and it was really something that was going to drive forward, Nike's digital transformation. One of the components of being able to do that. So being a part of that felt really great.
That sounds exciting. I mean, unlocking kind of the next generation of tech and the way that companies like Nike do things. But I can imagine that as fulfilling and exciting the projects that you work on are and can be, it's still important to take a step back and take care of yourself. So do you have any details or kind of tidbits on what you do to reset or relax when you're in a funk or you just feel like you need some inspiration?
Yeah, I will have to say that I think the pandemic heightened that a lot for a lot of us. And I feel like some of the things that I started to do was really start to invest time in myself. So one of the things that I do is I definitely make sport a daily habit. I have a goal of hitting 10,000 steps every day. I love to ride my Peloton. And I'm one of those people when I go for my walk to get my steps in, I don't listen to any music. I don't listen to any podcasts. I really take that time to really spend time with myself, and I work, and it's interesting because I feel like I do some of my best problem solving when I'm on my walks. It's just really a time for me to reflect, talk to myself. It could be something personal, professional, but it's definitely a time that is very important to me.
I plus one that 100%. I think just having time to yourself and your mind without any distractions just helps you like reset. I like to call it recharging my soul, but I think it's important. Well, Monica, I'm so glad that you've learned to, figure out what helps you feel your best self and recharge your soul. But in reading your blog posts and talking more with you, you've been really vocal about the importance of family. How do you feel your family helps impact your work and how you manage your team?
Yeah, great question. So, yeah, family is everything to me, and it's definitely a result of how I was raised, and the importance of that. And I definitely translate that into my own life. I'm married. I have two daughters. I have a 15, almost 16-year-old, and then I have a 4-year-old. And so, one of the things that's really, really important to me in my career, and one thing I won't sacrifice, is my family. And I always share that same sentiment with my teams. I say family first, and I think it's really important to share with others that you can be successful and you can have balance, and that's just, again, one thing I won't sacrifice is my family. They're the most important thing to me, and without, it's like with all the success in the world, where would I be without my family? So I think that's just really important to me, and I always will put them first. And I found a really great balance in being able to, show up and be really strong at work and do what I need to do. And then also be there for my family. So I feel very fortunate that I have, great balance, and I work for a company that absolutely supports me in that.
That's extremely admirable. And, I know we were talking about the importance of seeing yourself. And I think, especially as women of color, this kind of narrative of you can have a family or you can have a successful career, but you can't have both is often on display for us. And I think it's important for women like yourself to say, you know what, I love my family, I love my work, and I am balancing both the best that I can. So thank you for sharing and being vulnerable with the group.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as much it is as critical as it is to level set with yourself and make sure that you are recharging, I think mentorship is a really wonderful way to get perspective, maybe when you can't get it, when you're in the middle of a stressful project or an important deadline. And I know you recently published a blog post about different types of mentors that have guided you and impacted you throughout your journey at Nike. I'm curious, what has your experience been like with mentorship throughout your career from point one to where you are today?
Yeah, I feel like it's evolved and shifted and changed over the years. And I've had, I've had some more of the organic type mentorships, and then I've had some more of the structured ones. And I think that, for instance, with Nike has done a really great job of elevating their leaders, and I'm actually part of this leadership circles program that does elevate upcoming leaders, and I get exposure to again, the top leaders in Nike. And I think that's been a really great experience to learn what are the things that leaders are talking about, what are their problems, what are they trying to solve for, right? How can we provide input into things that are actually going to take place? And then again, I've had managers that have really offered me a safe space to grow. And I think that's really important, and something that I try to emulate with my team is, I'm here. I'm here to help you. I'm here to allow you to grow and to take chances and to fail, because that's okay. And, so I feel like the mentors that I've had over time have, shown me those things that have really helped me be successful.
Is there anyone specifically you want to shout out as being a really impactful mentor or friend throughout your career journey?
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually mentioned this in the blog too, but her name is Kimberly Borden. She was a manager of mine at Nike. And again, she just really afforded me that safe space to learn and to grow and to really push myself, because, there were times where, opportunities came my way and I felt like, am I capable of doing this? And, and sometimes it's that inner monologue where I was like, and I guess it also goes back to like being an athlete. It's like, yes, I can do this. I can push myself. And again, being, comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I felt like she was so great at always saying like, trust your instincts, I'm here to help you, if you need it. And she would always say like, I know you're not going to need it, but if you do need it, I'll be here, and I feel like just that safety and knowing that, like, again, that I could fail. And if I did, it's okay. Really, really helped me. It meant a lot to me.
Wow. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable and opening up. I feel like I'm sitting in the audience just like, wow, this woman's incredible. Before we wrap up, where can the audience find you? Social channels, or any way to reach out to you or learn more about the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn's probably the best way. I've actually had quite a few people, reach out to me that I've been able to connect with, which I think is really great, and learn about them as well as them learning about me. So I would say that's where you can find me.
Great. Well, Monica, I want to say thank you again. I really enjoyed our conversation today. And for everyone tuning in, this is just one example of the type of events that we host. I know Monica will continue creating content and sharing her journey. So please be sure to follow her and keep up. And make sure to follow Latinas in Tech. We have a lot of incredible stuff coming up for 2022. So thank you all again, and hope you enjoyed today's conversation with Monica.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.